What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So Zenless Zone Zero is finally out on PC, PS5, and mobile, and I wanted to make a first impressions video for you guys after playing about 10 or 11 hours and whether or not it's worth downloading and trying, because on my Twitch stream, I'm getting a bunch of people asking me, Doro, is this game worth it? Is it fun? What are your thoughts? So we're making a video. I'm gonna give you some pros and some cons, tell you what the game is about, and you can decide for yourself if you wanna download it or not. And I did play the beta months ago, and I made a first impressions video on that, and I was kind of on the fence back then. I really didn't know how the game would do. As we've gotten closer to launch, I've been getting more excited for the game, and my thoughts have changed. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, what's the game about? Well, it's an urban fantasy action role-playing game, and then pretty much the world was devastated by this supernatural disaster called the Hollows, and it creates like these little pocket dimensions, and you play as a character who's a proxy that can go into these dimensions and guide other characters through those dimensions, fighting monsters along the way. But the funny thing is, the Hollows are actually important in the story because the city that this takes place in, New Eridu, they use the Hollows resources to stay alive pretty much, and it's the last remaining city on Earth, so they're kind of needed. But the funny thing is, the Hollows have become monetized by the city's leaders, which then leads to feuds between different companies and gangs, a capitalistic society. And since you're the proxy who leads other characters through these pocket dimensions, you'll be going into them a lot, helping the people that employ you to help them through the Hollows and learning about them and their backstories. And speaking of cool characters, there's a bunch to collect in game. There's your limited banner, which right now is Ellen Joe, and I love her very much. And you have your weapon banner, which in this game they're called W engines. And then you have your standard banner, which, and if you just downloaded the game, the standard/beginner banner is combined. And you'll be able to tell because you'll see on the bottom, it's a discounted rate for your 10 pulls. It's 8 versus 10. And you should get an S rank character, I think, within 50 pulls for your beginner banner. And then it'll switch over just to being the standard banner. Oh, and the nice thing too, for the standard banner, you can try out all the standard S rank characters. And if you hit 300 wishes on your standard banner, you get to pick which one you want, just like in Star Rail. And for the W engine banner, it's a 75-25 chance, just like in Star Rail as well. So pretty standard gacha stuff. They give you a lot of pulls when you first download the game. I think it's like 180 pulls or something like that. There's a login event, there's in-game mail, there's pre-registration stuff, and then you get more by playing the game and progressing through it. So you should be able to get an S rank character pretty early on. So that's what the game is about, but is it actually fun to play? That's the important part. And I'm gonna start with the pros first and then end the video with the cons. So starting off, I think the game's biggest focus is its combat system. That's where they really put a lot of attention. And I will say, I like it a lot. It's very well animated and it just feels like I'm watching like an epic anime battle play on my screen, but I'm a part of it. And I was wrong. I will say there is more depth to the combat system than I originally thought. Yeah, you can probably get through it just by button mashing, but there are characters that have certain combos and certain ways to use them. Each character does something different in battle. You can dodge, you can perfect parry, which then switches you to a different character, and then they have like an intro skill. Like there's more to the game than just button mashing. And when you're fighting, we talked about this on my stream actually, it feels very satisfying. At least for me it did. The feedback that you get when you kill an enemy or you hit an enemy is done very well. But I will suggest this, it'll ask you if you want to play the game on casual or hard mode. And if you want to play on casual and just kind of breeze through the story, then yeah, go ahead and do that. But for most players, I would say put it on the hard mode. It's still not even that hard, to be honest with you, but at least it's not super duper easy where you kind of get bored fast. I kind of wish there was an extra hard mode, but we'll get to that in the cons section. But overall, I personally like the combat a lot. It's fast, it's fluid, it's flashy, like the bright colors look good for my eyes. Like it's fun. It makes me feel like a badass when I'm fighting enemies and I can pull off a perfect counter and a perfect dodge, and it just looks so cool. Like one of my favorite things is when you switch to a character perfectly and it like throws your character back and they stab their weapon into the ground to stop themselves. It's just so epic. I feel really cool when I fight. Another pro that I can't stop gushing over are the graphics, but especially the animations. This is probably Hoyo's best attempt at animating characters in a game. If you've ever heard of an anime studio called Studio Trigger, they made Gurren Lagann and they made Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Like they always have like this bouncy over the top exaggeration expressions, and I get that feel in this game a lot. Like the characters are just so bouncy and like in the way they move around, it's just so smooth. Like dude, I don't know who they hired to do the animations, but it is literally their best work yet. It makes their other games, in my opinion, looks stiff as a board. And I will say this, I think it's some of the best animation that I have seen in a video game, hands down. And I play a lot. Believe me or not, I play more than just gacha games outside of YouTube and Twitch. Oh, and a big plus, the game has unlimited FPS, so finally we have that. But yeah, all the effects that you see in battle are just amazing to look at. Like, it's truly a pleasure to look at the game while you're playing, at least for me. I know I've seen some people that have different opinions on that, but for me, like, this is some of Hoyo's best, graphically and, you know, with animations. And I think a good segue from that for my next pro is the world and the vibe of the game. It is so different from their other games in a good way. I'm glad that it's different. I don't want something that's extremely similar to their other ones, right? And they nailed the vibe, in my opinion, very well. I'm a 90s baby, and when I play this game, it reminds me of my childhood. Like, you know, the arcades with all the funky colors, like the greens and the blues and the yellows. Like, just the vibe of it is so, like I said, it reminds me of my childhood, and I love that. They knocked it out of the park, and all the little details that you can see in the world, or like in your bedroom. Like, they really put a lot of care into this world. Now, it is a lot smaller than their other games world-wise, so it allowed them to add more details, which I like. Not every game needs to be a huge open world, in my opinion, and I'm kind of glad this one isn't, because I got enough of those right now on my plate. But I don't know, like, they put a lot of detail into it, and like when you're walking across the streets and stuff, the NPCs, like, none of them look the same, and they all have like their own dialogue and conversations, their own style of clothes, like different faces. Like, man, the world feels lived in. Like, I know it's a very small area that I'm in currently. It does feel lived in. Like, these characters actually are a part of this world. I don't know how to explain it, but I appreciate that. I guess that's a privilege that you get if you have a smaller world to work with than like a huge, vast open world. And I guess this goes along with like the world and the vibe, but the music. You never really realize how important music is until, you know, you do. And oh my god, dude, Hoyo Mix, man, they knock it out of the park. I know they have a lot of money, but like, who are they hiring for this stuff? Because the music is a banger. It is so good. It just like hits all the right notes, no pun intended. It really kind of ties the whole world and the vibe together. It reminds me of like Jet Set Radio or like Splatoon. Like, it just has that like funky, weird vibe to it, kind of Persona coded too. Like, it's amazing. I really like the world that they've built so far, and apparently there's more that I have not even seen yet, and there's more coming. Like, bro, I'm excited to see like what kind of places they build for us. All right, a couple more pros that I've got about this game, and I have a lot of pros. I actually have more pros than cons, which is a good thing. Probably the characters. Honestly, the characters are likable. I know this is kind of a topic that people are sort of split on, but from my experience, I like the characters. I like Billy. I think he's, you know, the comedic relief for sure. Very Deadpool, you know, esque, but I like him. Ellen, really like her personality. I think she's super cool. I like her design too. Nicole, I mean, she got some good personality. But yeah, like, I like the cast of characters. I mean, there's a giant bear named Ben, and apparently he's a sweetheart. Like, what? Like, it's just so random sometimes, but I like it. It works, you know? No, that's not to say that some characters are just kind of like, okay, you know, because there are definitely some characters that I'm just kind of like, okay, whoever you are, whatever. But for the most part, I like the character designs. They definitely fit the world, and the character personalities are likable so far. I've really mostly spent my time with Nicole, Ambi, and Billy. But it's not even just the playable characters. Like, it's the NPCs too that you meet. They all have like their own personalities, and they stand out and are unique. And you can definitely tell they put a lot of care into it. And that's something that Hoyo does very well with their games, is creating likable characters. They do it with Genshin, they do it with Star Rail. They do that very well. And here, I think they did the same thing. Not all of them are likable, sure, but for the most part, I like what they did. And the voice acting is very good as well. And the writing too. Oh, and a bonus thing with the characters, you can hang out with different playable characters and get to know them a little bit better and do activities with them. I like that they've added that into the game. I know we have hangouts and stuff in other games, but like, this one's different. You know, you can go to the arcade with Billy and, you know, play multiplayer Snake with him, which I'm very bad at, by the way. All right, last two pros I'll talk about is the fun factor. For me, it's addicting. I want to just keep playing it. I don't feel overwhelmed like with a huge open world, and I like the activities. Like, they're fun activities to do in game to level up. I like the grind. I like grinding out my characters and building them and doing certain things to see my number go up. I like that. And so this game has that. And since it's a smaller game, it's easier to digest. You know what I mean? And it's just fun. It's addicting. I like playing the game. I think some people forget that you just want to have fun. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But for me, I'm enjoying my time with it. Now we'll see how much that is true, you know, for the longevity of the game, because again, the game just came out. These are just my first impressions. I think the more important aspect is to see the longevity and how long you can have fun with the game, right? But as of right now, the whole point of this video, my first impressions, I'm addicted and I just want to keep playing. Like today, as I'm filming this right now, it is 1 a.m. I wasn't streaming until nighttime, and all day, all I can think about was ZZZ, and I just wanted to play it all day. But I was like, no, I gotta wait for stream. Last two things, there's a skip button, which is really cool how they did it, because you can skip, but it'll also give you the TLDR of what you're skipping so that you're not completely lost by skipping. And I think that's super smart. So for you lore skippers out there you go. You won't be completely lost. And then you can finally pet the cats, dude. And there's an animation for it too. It's not just like you petted the cat and you're just standing there and the cat goes meow. No, you actually see it, and you can actually let it go forever if you want to, until you actually quit. And I did that in the story, and then my brother called me out and they were just like, you were petting that cat for a very long time. I was like, okay, what about it? You know, we've waited so many years for this simple thing, and we finally got it. And I gotta say, it was worth it. So yeah, that's a lot of pros for the game. You're probably wondering, dang, Doro, you're just loving this game so much, huh? It's perfect, huh? But it's not. There are cons, and let's talk about them. The biggest thing for me, and I'm gonna be completely honest, the story is very meh for me. It's not hooking me. After like 10 hours, I'm just like, okay. It definitely has a slow start with the story, and it never truly hooked me so far. I have not started chapter 2 yet. There's a lot of chapters and there's a lot of parts to the chapters, but after 10 hours, I mean, it's not hooking me, man. And the story is very important for me. If I can get engrossed into the story, it helps me get engrossed into the world. Luckily, this game has amazing combat and a very fun gameplay loop that still hooks me. But the story, dude, it's just like, I really hope it gets better. And Hoyo has a good track record for making amazing stories in their game. So I have hope. I do have hope that it'll get better, and maybe it will get better within, you know, this first patch, and I just haven't gotten there yet. But so far from what I've played, it's just, I don't know, a lot of techie mumbo jumbo and just like not really like, it's okay, it's meh right now. So I hope it gets better. Like, that's probably my #1 con. Now another con is the combat. What? Now I did say that I really do like the combat, and there is more depth to it, and I still hold true to that, and I still believe that. But so far from playing, I've really just been focusing on the story. The combat's not that difficult, even on hard mode. Like, it's a little bit more difficult than casual. I mean, you have to still parry and like dodge at least in this, but like you can probably get away from just button mashing, which is kind of a shame because there's more to the combat than just button mashing. Now, I haven't been doing that. I've been trying to utilize the combat system, and it's more fun that way, but it's not really giving me that challenge that I want yet. Apparently there's game modes in this game that are going to give you a really big challenge, and so I can really judge the combat system when I get to that part. And I do plan to make another video, or maybe a couple more videos of more impressions and as I further progress in the game. But again, this is only a first impressions for my like first 10 hours of the game. You know, I fought like a big major boss. It was epic. I thought it was really cool, but it was still easy. And I do understand, you know, for the story, they don't want to make it too difficult because they want people to progress through the game. They made it insanely difficult, then people would probably just stop playing. I get that. I would appreciate maybe like adding another difficulty, like above hard, like extra hard or insane mode or something. Even for the story, I think that'd be great for players like me who want that challenge. All right, so this is next day Doro here. That's why I'm dressed differently. But I just got done with stream today. I filmed the video last night, and I did get farther. I unlocked Hollow Zero, which is like their simulated universe Spiral Abyss game mode. And I can say that combat does get slightly harder. It's still not the difficulty that I would prefer, honestly, but I can definitely tell that there is somewhat of a spike increase. And you definitely have to level up your characters and stuff, because if you don't, then you won't be ready for it. But Hollow Zero is really fun too. Just go through, you know, different stages, and then you get like different buffs and debuffs. I went into it, I was supposed to be level 25, but I was level 20 because I just did my Ascension quest. And I was like, yeah, we got this. And funny enough, nerfing myself made the game harder and more enjoyable for me, at least. It probably would have been easier if I had leveled up my characters to, you know, level 30, but I'm now finally getting into the point where I can start grinding. I just unlocked the artifact system and being able to grind for my characters daily. So I'll probably make a video in the future talking more about the end game stuff, how that looks. But again, this is just a first impressions video, but I just wanted to add this part that the Hollow Zero mode is a lot of fun and does offer slightly more of a challenge. Now, another con that is a very big con for a lot of people is the TV system. We all know it. Now, they did improve upon the TV system from the beta by giving you a fast forward button. It pretty much just speeds up everything, like your movements and stuff. You're still gonna have to do the TV system. And I think they even said in the live stream, and I might be mistaken, you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, they said that they plan to get rid of the TV system or mitigate it and add it so that like you can actually traverse through the worlds with your characters and, you know, fight monsters that way versus using a TV system. But as of right now, the TV system, I'm kind of half and half on it. Like, it's not the worst thing. I think some people are over exaggerating how much bad it is. It's not that bad. The fast forward definitely helps it, but I will say it definitely breaks up the game a lot. Like you're getting in that mood of like fighting enemies and like you're loving the combat and it's sick, cool cutscene, and then some dialogue. You're like, okay, great. And then TV. And you're just like, oh, it really like puts the brakes on like the flow, I feel like, and it kind of just throws me off. It's not the worst thing in the world, but like I can make do without it. Let's be real. If it wasn't in the game, I'd probably be very happy. But as of right now, it is in the game. It's not gonna be everyone's cup of tea. Just so you know, the TV system is the way you traverse through the world, like when you're like doing missions and stuff. And if I did hear correctly, I can't wait till they get rid of it or they mitigate it, and then you actually traverse through actual like levels and worlds more than you already do, actual characters, and fight more enemies and stuff versus just going through TV screen to TV screen. I think the only other con that I have is that it's not even really a con for me, but it's been a con for other people. It's the size of the game and it not being open world. Because I know there's a lot of people that love open world games and stuff. And it's like, oh, this game is too small. Like, where's the freedom? You know, all that. For me, that is not a con. I've already expressed that. But my take on that is, for me at least, I don't want another open world game right now. I've got plenty of those. I'm glad that Hoyo is making a game that is very different from their other games to capture a different audience, right? I mean, you got Star Rail for the people who like JRPGs, right? With the turn-based, and you have Genshin, the open world RPG. So you have that open world aspect, things to go explore, and the elemental reaction, you know, combat system. Now you got this game, which is really focused on like the fighting and the combat. It gives me like Devil May Cry vibes, like Bayonetta vibes. So it's really for those like people who love fast-paced action games or fighting games. It really seems like they're trying to like capture different audiences, and I like that. So I'm happy that it's not open world. I like that it's smaller because I can tell that they've added more details to it, and I appreciate that. As someone who plays a lot of video games, I like details in my games. The small details help paint a bigger, nicer picture. That's always been my philosophy. So yeah, I don't know. That's not really a con, but I know it's a con for some people. I've been saying that in my Twitch chat, so I wanted to mention it, I guess. And hopefully when they add like bigger cities and like bigger areas to go explore, that might mitigate that feeling of like, oh, it's not open world. Because so far from what I've played, I'm still in like the main hub in the main area, so it's not huge. But once you hit level 30, you do unlock a new area called Lumina Square. And I'm really looking forward to that because I just want to keep exploring this awesome world. But yeah, that's really all the cons I have. Like, my experience so far with it has been very good. And I know people are very, you know, split amongst the community on how they feel about the game, whether they like the combat system or they find it boring, if they love the story, they don't love the story, they don't like the gameplay loop. Not for everyone, you know, but personally, I'm really enjoying it. And I honestly think it is worth downloading and trying. I keep getting this question in my streams a lot and it doesn't make sense to me, but guys, it's free to play and it's free to download. If it interests you at all, I have a link in my description below. Literally click that link, download it, and just try it for yourself, because you might find that you love the game. You're like, oh my God, like actually this is my game. Or you might discover, hey, you know, it's really not for me, but at least you tried it. Oh, and if you do download now, you'll get 1,600 polychromes in your in-game mail just for downloading as a thank you, because ZZZ has reached over 50 million downloads worldwide, which is insane. But this game is definitely for people who like that retro future, you know, vibe with like fast action and fighting. It's a lot of fun and it's very addicting. But let me know in the comments down below if you've downloaded Zenless Zone Zero and how you feel about it. Are you enjoying it? Are you not enjoying it? I want to read those comments and see what the community is feeling. And be on the lookout for more ZZZ content on the channel, because I plan to make more, because as long as I'm having fun with the game, I want to make content on the game. I hope you guys enjoyed my first impressions. I do plan to make more videos kind of like this as I progress and do the harder content and kind of give you my thoughts on that as well. And I appreciate you guys watching the videos. I'll catch you guys in the next one.